Speaker.
Te ura Flavel.
Kia ora tātou e te whare. Mr Speaker, this day in the House, as with every day, is a day in which the Māori Party has attempted to provide a template to see Te Tiriti o Waitangi in action. We do so in the best interests of this nation, we say. And it's a commitment we make as a partner in the relationship of confidence and supply agreement with the National Party, an agreement which is established on the premise and the promise that both parties will act in accordance with the treaty. To do so, sir, we believe requires that no decision gets made without the support of Māori. So again, that's what we believe, that no decision gets made without the support of Māori. In essence, that is what the treaty is about. It requires the Māori voice. This is what the Māori Party affirms, and it is a vision for governance which suggests that, as provided for in the treaty, tangata whenua should have an equitable say in the decisions that affect them through treaty-based representation. And so today, sir, is a significant benchmark to assess how well the current government is meeting its own responsibilities. Mr Speaker, this third and final bill to implement the government's governance arrangements for the Auckland region is an opportunity to make right the wrongs incurred by previous efforts. The bill amends the Local Government Tāmaki Makaurau Reorganisation Act 2009 and the Local Government Auckland Council Act 2009 to resolve further matters relating to the reorganisation of local government in Auckland. As the House is well aware, the Māori Party vigorously opposed the first two bills to implement the government's governance arrangements for the Auckland region, the Local Government Tāmaki Makaurau Reorganisational Bill and the Local Government Auckland Council Bill. It would not be stretching the point too fine to say that about the only mention of Māori throughout these two bills was in the title, and even then that came about as a rebuttal to the constant filibustering from the other side of the House. Mr Speaker, it was with pleasure that I listened in the House today to learn that members of the Labour Party have been reading the excellent releases and report from the Māori Party, including our recent statement last week about Māori representation on local government. Mr Speaker, the research by Kāhui Tautoko Consulting Limited for the Department of Internal Affairs found that, quote, key to effective participation in better decision-making was having Māori representatives with the same status as other elected councillors, end of quote. It could not have been better timing to be told again that local government authorities work more effectively when they have Māori representation. And so in our haste to make decisions on the interim and transitional provisions for the operation of the Auckland City Council from November 1, 2010, Māori representation must surely be given. The Kāhui Tautoko research concluded that setting aside seats for Māori on local council should be viewed as an acknowledgement on the promise of partnership in the treaty signed by Māori and the Crown. We'd have to ask ourselves then, how is it in considering the establishment of the various new local governance arrangements in Auckland, are the interests of mana whenua taken into account? The bill contains provisions for the Auckland Council to be able to operate from its establishment on the 1st of November 2010, and within this there are provisions for a board to promote issues of significance for mana whenua and for Māori for Tāmaki Makaurau. A key plank in our campaigning for the Māori Party is to ensure that local governments acknowledge the authority of mana whenua. And so our leader the Associate Minister of Tertiary Education, the Honourable Dr. Peter Sharp, was determined that he would seek to develop a range of options that would help us to do this. During the early stages of this bill, we are, as a party, invested considerable resource into following the set of recommendations from the Royal Commission, a report on Auckland governance. As the House will recall, there was a strong recommendation that Māori should be represented on the Auckland Council in the form of 3 seats shared between mana whenua and Māori. So the Royal Commission also recommended the appointment of a mana whenua forum with powers to appoint members of Watercare's Māori advisory group. It is now part of the shameful record during the passage of this legislation that the evidence brought forward from the Royal Commission has been disregarded by the National and ACT coalition. So I want to take us back to the points I made in the first bill of this series of 3 relating to Auckland governance. I talked about the quality of a representation we might consider would be involved in proper engagement. See, quality representation would comprise a focus on partnership, protection, participation and pragmatism. Quality representation in local government is best determined and demonstrated by a tight organisational structure, the appropriate environment and leadership that promotes and enhances the recognition of Māori values. Proper engagement would involve the protection of mana whenua, of wāhi tapu and taonga Māori. Proper engagement is expressed by meaningful and mutual beneficial participation of Māori in the Council. Proper engagement is in the practical means of maintaining and resourcing a consultative mechanism and a mechanism for tangata whenua and Council to contribute to a decision-making process. Mr. Speaker, despite the Royal Commission's definitive conclusions, despite the calls from the people of Auckland, despite the submissions overwhelmingly in support of Māori representation, the statutory Māori board put up by my colleague Dr. Sharples, we find ourselves at this juncture still no further along the way. And so I find myself turning to the deliberations from the hui held on the 4th of December 2009 at Te Noho Kotahitanga Marae in Auckland. That hui was entitled Local Government and Māori Beyond the Super City. Ko te hea te horahi tika. Dr. Sharples announced the substance of the proposal around the independent statutory board, but it would be fair to say that it did not receive the widespread endorsement of the hui. The purpose of the statutory board is to, quote, promote cultural, economic, environmental and social issues of significance for mana whenua and Māori of Tāmaki Makaurau to assist the Auckland Council in making decisions, performing functions and exercising powers, end of quote. So it was a noble attempt, but in effect it does not have any more powers than an advisory board. The Council can be prompted to, promoted to or guided by the board and can consult with the board and take into account their advice, but all decisions are still made by the Council. So when a decision is required, such as the appointment of Māori members to select Council committees, the authority that oversees the decisions of the board is strictly governed by that Council. So never one to give up, we continued in the best of our tribal traditions to explore ways in which to amend the Local Government Act and subsequent super city legislation to ensure the mandatory adoption of Māori seats at local government level. We have not been successful in this bill and we will oppose it therefore at its first reading. But we will never lose hope that the commitment to treaty justice, the commitment to partnership and protection, participation and pragmatism will live for another day, and we in the Māori Party will be there to make sure to hold the government to account on that.